On the rugged island of Corsica, surrounded by wild mountains and the restless Mediterranean Sea, a boy named Napoleon Bonaparte was born in 1769. The island, with its fierce independence and proud traditions, shaped the earliest days of his life. His family belonged to the minor nobility, but their title brought little comfort. They lived simply with few luxuries and often struggled to make ends meet, yet they held on to their dignity and dreams for a better future. Napoleon was a quiet, serious child, often found reading by candlelight. He was drawn to stories of great leaders, men like Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar, whose courage and ambition seemed to leap from the pages of his worn books. At just 9 years old, he left his island home for military school in France. It was a lonely, difficult transition, filled with uncertainty and homesickness. The world he entered was foreign and often unwelcoming. His strong Corsican accent and lack of wealth made him an outsider among his classmates. He was mocked and excluded, often left standing alone in the schoolyard, longing for acceptance. But instead of breaking him, these hardships only fueled his determination. Napoleon resolved to prove himself, to rise above the scorn and show his worth. He buried himself in his studies, excelling in mathematics, history, and military strategy. His teachers soon noticed his sharp mind and relentless drive, even if his peers did not. Though he was not popular, Napoleon believed fiercely in his own abilities. He carried within him a quiet confidence, a sense that he was destined for something greater. The isolation he experienced at school forged his independence and willpower. He learned to rely on himself, to trust his instincts when others doubted him. In those quiet moments alone, he developed the habit of deep reflection, learning to trust his own judgment above all else. The hardships of his youth became the foundation of his ambition. Every challenge, every slight, became fuel for his dreams of greatness. In the echoing halls of the military academy, the seeds of a future emperor were quietly sown. Each lesson, each struggle, prepared him for the battles that lay ahead. The journey from a determined Corsican boy to the master of Europe had quietly begun, setting the stage for a life that would change the course of history. After completing his rigorous training at the prestigious military academy, Napoleon emerged as a young artillery officer in the French army, eager to prove himself and driven by a fierce ambition that set him apart from his peers. Suddenly, the French Revolution erupted, shaking the very foundations of the nation. The monarchy was toppled, and France was plunged into chaos, uncertainty, and war. Streets filled with angry crowds, and the old order was swept away almost overnight. With many aristocratic officers fleeing or being purged, the army was left in desperate need of new leaders. This upheaval created unprecedented opportunities for ambitious and talented men like Napoleon, who were ready to seize their moment. Napoleon's first real test came at Toulon in 1793. The city had fallen into the hands of British-backed royalist rebels, threatening the revolution itself. Napoleon, still a relatively unknown officer, devised a daring plan to recapture the city and prove his worth. He seized the high ground overlooking the harbor, expertly positioning his cannons to rain fire on the British fleet. His bold tactics forced the enemy to retreat, turning the tide of the battle and securing a crucial victory for the revolutionary cause. Though wounded in the fighting, Napoleon's courage and strategic brilliance did not go unnoticed. He was celebrated by his fellow soldiers as a hero, his name echoing through the ranks. In recognition of his extraordinary achievement, Napoleon was promoted to brigadier general at just 24 years old, a meteoric rise that stunned the military establishment. The revolution's turmoil, which had destroyed so many, became the very ladder that lifted him to fame and power. Napoleon's rise was nothing short of meteoric. He was no longer just another officer lost in the chaos. He was now a rising star in the French military. Again and again he would prove his genius and courage on the battlefield, earning the respect and admiration of his men and superiors alike. The boy from the rugged island of Corsica, once an outsider, was now celebrated as a national hero across France. France had found a new kind of leader, one forged in the fires of revolution, shaped by adversity, and driven by an unbreakable will to succeed. Napoleon's ambition and extraordinary talent would soon reshape not only the French army but the entire nation itself, setting France on a new and dramatic course. The world beyond France's borders was beginning to take notice of this remarkable young commander whose name was spreading rapidly across Europe. The legend of Napoleon Bonaparte was just beginning, and the world would soon witness the rise of one of history's most extraordinary leaders. Napoleon's next challenge was commanding the struggling French army in Italy. The troops were demoralized and outmatched by Austria's forces. Napoleon inspired them with promises of honor and glory, reigniting their spirit. He reorganized the army, moved swiftly, and outmaneuvered his enemies. His Italian campaign became legendary. Victories at Lodi and Arcole made him a symbol of victory. He led from the front, earning his soldiers' loyalty and awe. Within a year, he forced Austria to negotiate, securing a favorable peace for France. Napoleon returned to Paris as a legend, not just a hero. His military genius and leadership were undeniable. He had brought France glory and peace. The nation saw him as their savior. Napoleon was more than a general, he was a force of destiny. His legend grew with every triumph. Returning from victory, Napoleon found France in chaos and the government weak. Sensing his moment, he seized power in a swift coup, becoming first consul. He reformed laws, stabilized the economy, and restored order. France flourished under his rule. His popularity soared, and in 1802, he became consul for life. But Napoleon wanted more than power. He wanted a dynasty. In 1804, in a grand ceremony at Notre Dame, he crowned himself emperor. By taking the crown from the Pope's hands, he declared his authority came from himself alone. The boy from Corsica had become Napoleon I's Emperor of the French. He was now the most powerful man in Europe. His ambition had reshaped a nation. The world watched as a new era began. As emperor, Napoleon set out to dominate Europe, facing coalitions of Britain, Austria, and Russia. The ultimate test came at Austerlitz in 1805, where he faced the combined Russian and Austrian armies. Outnumbered, Napoleon lured his enemies into a trap by feigning weakness. As the sun broke through the fog, he struck. His troops seized the Pratzen Heights, splitting the enemy. The Allied army was thrown into chaos and decisively defeated. Austerlitz became Napoleon's masterpiece, showcasing his tactical brilliance. The coalition collapsed. Austria was forced to sign a humiliating peace. Napoleon's control over Europe seemed unshakable. He was no longer just France's emperor, he was master of the continent. His legend reached its zenith under the sun of Austerlitz. Europe had never seen a conqueror like him, but new challenges loomed on the horizon. Before his coronation, Napoleon led a daring and ambitious expedition to Egypt in 1798, a journey that would shape both his destiny and the world's understanding of ancient civilizations. His goal was twofold: to disrupt British trade routes and expand French influence in the East, but also to bring along a remarkable team of scientists, engineers, and scholars, the brightest minds of his era. The military campaign saw dramatic highs and lows. Napoleon's forces triumphed at the Battle of the Pyramids, showcasing his tactical genius, but disaster struck when the British Navy, under Admiral Nelson, destroyed the French fleet at the Battle of the Nile, leaving the army stranded. Isolated and facing harsh conditions, Napoleon's soldiers struggled to survive in the unforgiving desert. Yet amid adversity, the scientific mission flourished, undeterred by the chaos of war. The scholars meticulously documented Egypt's ancient monuments, temples, and tombs, producing detailed sketches and records that would ignite Europe's fascination with the mysteries of the Nile. Their greatest find was the Rosetta Stone, a slab inscribed in 3 scripts, Greek Demotic and Egyptian hieroglyphs, unlocking secrets lost for centuries. This single artifact became the key that allowed scholars to finally decipher the mysterious language of the pharaohs, opening a window into a forgotten world. The scientific achievements of the expedition far outlasted its military failures, leaving a legacy of discovery and wonder that would inspire generations. Napoleon's insatiable curiosity and vision opened the ancient world to modern study, forever changing how Europe viewed history and culture. The Rosetta Stone became a symbol of discovery, a true key to unlocking the secrets of history. Soon, Egyptomania swept across Europe. Art, fashion, and architecture all bore the mark of this newfound fascination, all thanks to Napoleon's bold vision. Even in defeat, Napoleon's Egyptian adventure changed the world, leaving an indelible mark on science, art, and the imagination of an entire continent. His ambition reached far beyond the battlefield, echoing through history as a testament to the power of curiosity and the enduring quest for knowledge. By 1812, Napoleon's empire stretched across Europe, but his alliance with Russia collapsed. Determined to punish Tsar Alexander, Napoleon invaded Russia with over 600,000 men. The Russians retreated, burning everything behind them, denying the French supplies. Napoleon's army suffered hunger and exhaustion as they advanced. At Borodino they won a costly victory, but Moscow was abandoned and set ablaze. With no shelter and winter approaching, Napoleon ordered a retreat. The journey back was a nightmare. Starvation, frostbite, and constant attacks decimated his army. Fewer than 100,000 returned from Russia. The Grande Armée was destroyed. Napoleon's aura of invincibility was shattered. His greatest gamble had become his greatest disaster. Europe sensed his weakness. The end of an era was near. After the Russian disaster, Napoleon's enemies united and forced his abdication in 1814. Exiled to Elba, he watched as France grew restless under the restored monarchy. In 1815, he escaped and returned to France. Soldiers sent to stop him joined him instead. Napoleon reclaimed power in Paris without a fight, beginning the 100 Days. Europe's powers quickly mobilized to stop him. Napoleon marched to Belgium, hoping to defeat his enemies before they united. At Waterloo, he faced the British under Wellington and the Prussians under Blücher. The battle was fierce, but the arrival of the Prussians sealed his fate. Napoleon was decisively defeated. His dream of empire ended on the muddy fields of Waterloo. There would be no more comebacks. The age of Napoleon was over. Europe would never be the same. After Waterloo, Napoleon was exiled to the remote island of St. Helena. He spent his final years in isolation, dictating his memoirs and shaping his legacy. He died in 1821, but his influence endured. Napoleon's legacy is complex. He was both a ruthless conqueror and a visionary reformer. His wars caused immense suffering, yet his Napoleonic code shaped modern law. He modernized France, spread revolutionary ideals, and broke down old feudal systems. His story is a lesson in the power and peril of ambition. Was he a genius or a tyrant? Perhaps both. He rose from obscurity to conquer a continent. His belief in destiny drove him to greatness and to ruin. Napoleon's life changed the course of history. His myth endures, a symbol of ambition's heights and dangers. The world still debates the true legacy of Napoleon Bonaparte.